Hello, everyone. It's such a beautiful day here at the BYU Family History Library. Today, we're going to talk about ways you can direct your research with city directories. Most of us remember the old yellow pages and the great big phone books that we used to keep at our home. When I was young, the only thing I really thought that the phone book was good for was family dinners at Grandma's house when I got to use it as a booster seat. And then later on as a teenager, when I started to look up boys' names and tried unsuccessfully to get the courage to call them. So what's the difference between a telephone book and a city directory? Well, city directories are basically the ancestors of the telephone book. A city directory is a listing of businesses in the area and many times a list of the local residents. It can be extremely helpful for us in our genealogical research. But oftentimes, when we locate our ancestor in a city directory, using a name search on a site like Ancestry, we attach the source and move on, not taking the time to look at what other clues the directory may hold for us. There isn't a single source for finding city directories. So how do we find them? We can use the Family Search catalog to find out if directories are listed under the place names of the people that we're researching. We can search for city directories in Google Books. We can use the HathiTrust digital library. We can access this at home, but we have a more robust access through the university. MyHeritage has many city directories from throughout the world. The Harold B. Lee Library has many city directories in its stacks, as well as dozens more on microfilm and microfiche. We can search university catalogs, their special collections, and online archives. We can search state libraries and state archives, and also the state historical societies. Find My Past has many city directories from throughout the world. The Internet Archive allows you to download the city directories into a PDF form. If we find a city directory that is not available online, we can search for it in the WorldCat and have it possibly interlibrary loaned to us. Fold3 is an excellent source for city directories. And finally, Ancestry has a huge collection of city directories and telephone books from throughout the world. Things to remember when we're researching in city directories. Not every city or county had directories. Not every city had a directory for every year. Not every directory survives, unfortunately. And of course, not every directory is online. And all of the residents weren't always listed. Today we'll talk about some of the clues directories can hold for us and techniques and strategies for finding those clues. Perhaps the most obvious clue is to look for people with the same surname. There are many McKinnons living in this particular area, and only a couple of them live in the same household. But that doesn't mean that they're not all related. They may be cousins, aunts and uncles, or maybe have a more distant relationship. It's something to really check out. People living at the same address are often family members or have some other close association. The 4 people listed here as Colburns seem to be a widow and her 3 adult children. We can find etchings or photographs of buildings that were important in our ancestors' lives. We may be lucky enough to find a historic map within the directory. And with some little looking, we may be able to find which street our ancestor lived on and possibly even which building. Sometimes we find biographies or short life sketches. This particular directory lists some of the early settlers. It also has a short history on the early roads and trails. Knowing about those roads and trails may help you trace your ancestors' migration route. Many times, the directory includes a city or county history or a timeline. City directories can give us a glimpse into our ancestors' realities. Imagine having an insert in the city directory that tells you how to protect yourself during an air raid. Many times there's listings of churches and other organizations that may help us in our research. We may be able to find the names of the local newspapers, the local city officials, and even some ordinances and rules and laws that the city has. How do we bring it all together? How do we find those clues and analyze them to help us in our research? For this exercise, I chose an 1885 directory from Holyoke, Massachusetts that I located on the Internet Archive. Massachusetts did not have a state census in 1885, so this is a great example of finding clues in between the censuses. Internet Archive allows us to download a PDF version of this city directory. And once we have it downloaded, then we can use a Control F, like Fox. A search bar will appear in the top right-hand corner of a PDF when you hit Control F. And you can type in your search parameters. And in this case, we put in Van Ripper, and it will highlight the Van Ripper. Not every PDF is set up this way, and it will tell you whether this is just an image once you've started this search. If you keep coming up with 0, try a really simple word like the. And if it doesn't recognize the, then you know that you're looking at a PDF picture and not a searchable document. We can use the search engine in Ancestry.com if we find our ancestor in a city directory on Ancestry. Although the results that have received using Ancestry searches are inconsistent and sometimes leave information out. The first thing we do after we found our ancestor in a city directory is we come back to the search, we edit the search, we remove all of the names, we add in the place name and mark it as exact. And then in the keyword section, we can put in an address to search. It will not allow us to search for an occupation or an employer or a business, and that's one of the drawbacks. So often if I find my ancestor or the person I'm researching in a city directory on Ancestry, then I try to locate that same city directory on another website like the Hathi Trust or on Internet Archive to get a PDF download. When researching our ancestors, we don't want to just stick with just our ancestor. We want to make sure that we explore their fan club, their friends, family, associates, and neighbors. Sometimes it can be hard to identify some of those, and we're going to use this city directory to identify some friends, possible family, possible associates, and possible neighbors of Peter Van Ripper. Let's start by finding Peter Van Ripper in the directory. The entry for Peter says Van Ripper Peter, EMP Buchanan and Bolt, boards 125 Newton. Well, I'm not sure what EMP means. Let's look at the abbreviations that's provided in the city directory. EMP means employed. Now we know several things about Peter. We know that he is employed by Buchanan and Bolt, and that he rents a room or a space at 125 Newton. Our first suggestion was to search for people with the same last name. There are only 2 people with the surname Van Ripper in Holyoke at this time, Peter Van Ripper and Thomas Van Ripper. They may be related. Using the PDF that I downloaded and using the search tools on that PDF, I put in 125 Newton, and I was able to locate 5 individuals or families that live at the same address. There are 3 different occupations of people who live at 125 Newton. We have 3 people who work at Buchanan, Bolt and Company. We have a plumber, and we have a lithograph engraver and printer. He is probably the owner of the home. Using those same search tools on the PDF, I searched for people that were employed by Buchanan Bolt and Company. I came up with many, many, many of them. These are just a few. These would be people that Peter would be associating with on a daily basis. We don't know what religion Peter is, but we can find a list of all of the different churches and congregations in the city. That gets us ready for the research to come later on. We can also find clues to other records like fraternal organizations and other societies that may keep records that would help us understand our ancestor. At this point, we don't know if Peter was involved in any of these, but now we have some places to look. When we've added everything into Peter's fan club that we found, you can see we have a great number of possible ways to research him outside of the city directory. Look how much we learned about him just from the few pages that we've got. Imagine what these clues can help you find out about him. Things to remember when we're researching in city directories. Not every city or county had directories. Not every city had a directory for every year. Not every directory survives, unfortunately. And of course, not every directory is online. And all of the residents weren't always listed. Always take the time to read the forward material. It may contain biographies, maps, engravings of historic buildings or landscapes. It can help you understand how the directory is organized to better help you find the information you're looking for. It will also help you understand the abbreviations used within the directory. Don't forget that information was gathered the previous year. If your ancestor appeared in a 1905 city directory, it would indicate your ancestor was living in that area in 1904. Many online providers have searchable databases. Once you locate an ancestor, browse the rest of the collection. Understand which years the website has available. What geographic area does the directory cover? Did you dismiss it because it only listed the county seat without reading the fine print that shows all of the small towns that it covers as well? Remember that most websites use OCR, optical character recognition, And you may have to search page by page for your ancestor, which is easy in a city directory because it's alphabetized. We hope that this gives you some ideas of how you can direct your research with city directories. Have an awesome day.